Well, hey guys, this is David, and welcome to Zoe Zizzles, another video of ours. So, if you watch our videos, you know that we're travel nursing in New Mexico. So, in my free time, I like to check out things that we can go and see while we're here in New Mexico. And also, I love history and I love adventure. So I was reading on the computer and I came across this thing. If you haven't heard about it, there's this guy named Forrest Fenn. He's from Santa Fe. He's a real rich guy, and supposedly he hid this chest of gold and jewels and stuff somewhere out in the Rocky Mountains, and he invited people to go find it and get the money. So I thought, well, I'm in New Mexico. I wonder if it's anywhere around here. So I read his poem, and I think I may have solved it. So I'm going to skip the first stanza because the clues, he actually shows you where the clues start. So the first clue says, begin it where warm waters halt. So as I was doing research on this Mr. Forrest Fenn, I came across that he was a Vietnam veteran. He was a pilot. He was shot down, and he was a kind of a modern day Indiana Jones. So I was thinking about that. Begin it where warm waters halt. And as I was doing research, people were talking about creeks and hot springs and all this different stuff. And sure, New Mexico and other states have all these features. But in Angel Fire, which is up in the mountains north of Santa Fe, because that's where he said it starts, in the Rocky Mountains. And I do believe he hid it in New Mexico since he's from here and he's so familiar with the area. And it just makes sense to me that he would hide it here, because he went and hid it when he was an 80-year-old man. So I don't think he'd have drove, all the way up to Canada or whatever. So begin it where warm waters halt. The first ever Vietnam memorial in the entire United States, even before Washington, D.C., is in Angel Fire. And it's actually the only memorial that is only dedicated to Vietnam veterans. And when it was built, it actually looks to me, and it says on the Wikipedia, and you can look this up, that it resembles a sail from a sailboat. And I started thinking to myself, warm waters. Warm waters are comforting. Waters, we all know in Revelations where it talks about the waters of life, the tree of life. And I thought, I wonder if he's talking about that Vietnam memorial, because he is a Vietnam vet. And as I started looking into this, the other clues made sense to me, and they kind of followed the path. So begin it where warm waters halt. And also he used the word halt. He didn't say stop. He didn't say end. Halt is a military term. So I think you begin it at that Vietnam memorial in Angel Fire. And then he says, go in the canyon down. So down, most people would say go down the canyon, but he said go in the canyon down. So to me, I think he's talking about from the Vietnam Memorial, go south. And if you look at that area, it's in a valley between two different mountain range. So it's actually a canyon per se. So you go down south, and he says not far, but too far to walk. So what I think he's saying there is you're going to go a little ways. You're going to have to drive. You can't walk it, but it's not like thousands of miles. And then he says, beneath the home of Brown. Well, if you research that area, you'll find that Angel Fire and that valley sets in the Moreno Valley. And if you look up Moreno, Moreno, is Spanish for brown. So if you follow that down and you go south from the Vietnam Memorial, beneath the home of Brown, what I think that means is you leave that valley. Then the next stanza is no place for the meek. So when you get south of that valley, I started looking around, well, what could he mean by meek? And a lot of people interpreted this to mean that, he was up hiking in canyons and crazy places out in the wilderness. I don't believe that, because when he did this, he was 80 years old, and he has even stated, I can't go off in these crazy places. He says it's not in a dangerous place. Go to a place that is considered safe. So I started doing research. Like I said, I like history. And I found that the Santa Fe Trail used to run up, and there's actually the ruins of a fort called Fort Union. And there's this place called Wagon Mound. And the reason why Wagon Mound is significant is because back during the 1800s, two major events happened at Wagon Mound. Indians attacked the White Party, that was the name, W-H-I-T-E, that was their last name, and killed a bunch of people. And then there was another attack where they attacked a wagon train that was carrying mail and other goods and murdered 11 people whose bodies were found around this spring called the Santa Clara Spring. And the reason why Wagon Mound is also significant is because the settlers actually referred to that area as called the Valley of Hope because it has many springs and it was known for having fresh water and good grazing lands. So to me, because of the Indian attacks and because of the significant things that happened there and all these people were killed, that's no place for the meek. And then he says, the end is drawing nigh. So that can mean the end is coming, you're almost to the end of the treasure hunt, or nigh can also mean on the left. And the spot that I discovered is actually, if you're coming up Highway 25, is on the left. And then he says, up the creek without a paddle. So what I think this means is you're going against the creek. You can't paddle up a creek, so you have to walk. And this is significant with this area. And then he says, heavy loads and water high. So when I was looking at this area, I started thinking, well, wagon trains, when they were crossing the plains, that's heavy loads. They were pulled by ox and mule, so that's heavy loads. And water high, well, there's a spring. There's 5 springs there, but there's one specific spring called Santa Clara Spring. And it's actually in this little canyon. And it goes up to the elevation of 6,200 feet. So to me, that's water high. And that was the most famous spring because that's where the Indians attacked and killed 11 people. 11 bodies were found strewn across the ground around that spring. And Forrest has also said that he hid the treasure between 5,000 and 10,000 feet. Now, before you say anything, if you're familiar with this story, Forrest Fenn said he hid his treasure north in the mountains north of Santa Fe, the Rocky Mountains. But he put a map in a book that he wrote. And the spot where I'm looking at is on the very eastern edge, because the very eastern edge of his map is Interstate 25. And so my area actually falls within his area. Even though it's outside of the mountains a little bit, it still falls within the same area. Then he says, if you've been wise and found the blaze. So this part was really peculiar. But you're going to see this. When I show you this, you're going to be like, wow, that's like an X on a map. So when I was on Google Maps and I was looking at this area to see if maybe this might be the spot, I found the spring. I found a little creek running from it. So as I followed the map up the canyon, when you get up to the spring, you will be astonished. This area is completely, it's like on a bluff, it's completely flat. There's not a tree for 100 miles. But right around this spring are trees. But they're not just trees. These trees are planted in the shape, and they're big trees, they've been there for a long time, of a triangle. They are in the shape of a triangle. And when I seen that, I was like, holy shit, that's like a freaking X on the map. So I started doing research about triangles. And anybody who knows anything about triangles, the all-seeing eye, a triangle is a very mystic symbol. And it can be a fire sign, the blaze. And also, as I did research, I found that the Japanese and the Spanish, when they would hide loot, they would carve a triangle on a rock, or make a triangle out of rocks or out of limbs or something. And right in the center of that triangle is where they would bury their loot. A triangle has been known to be a treasure mark on a map. And I started thinking about Fenn. Fenn, his whole life, he was a modern Indiana Jones. And he searched everywhere for trinkets and gold and Indian artifacts. And I thought to myself, he would be familiar with this area because he knew there was a great Indian battle there. And he might have even gone out there looking for, artifacts. And also, as in his searches, he would have been familiar with different hieroglyphs and the meanings of trail markers. And a triangle, he would have known, marks where a treasure is. So I'm excited about this. And in 2 days, me and my friend from work are going up to Wagon Mound, and we're going to go to that triangle and see if we find Forrest Fenn's treasure. And I welcome anybody to make comments on this video. I'm not saying we're going to find it, but I feel like my solve is pretty concrete. And like I said, when you see that map and you see that triangle of trees sitting at the top where that Santa Clara spring is at, it's like an X on a map. So stay tuned and let's see if we find the treasure. Thanks, guys. Well, hey guys, we made it. You can see right there, that's Wagon Mound. So somewhere out there, we believe Forrest Fenn's treasure is hidden. Check out this tunnel that we had to come through to get over here. I really feel like Indiana Jones. See that tunnel? We're here. There's Sean. He's gonna share 50% of the treasure if we find it. So we got to hike over there. So let's see what happens. Woo! Well, guys, we made it almost to the top of the canyons. We believe the treasure's somewhere in that direction. As you can see the large salt flat stretching out before us. Whew. It doesn't seem like we're that high up, but we're almost, what, 6,200 feet plus some? Probably almost 7,000 feet. So, how you feel, Sean?
I just stopped smoking.
But we're almost to the top. Look at that one lone tree over there. But if we find the treasure, we'll be running back to the car. All right, guys, we'll be back. Well, guys, we're even higher up now. Whew. On the side of this damn cliff. As you can see, all the plants are growing sideways, so you can tell that I ain't lying. But it really is pretty here. That Salt Lake stretches on forever, and you can see the cars, gosh, 2 or 3 miles away. We're trying to get to the top of this thing so we can get to where we think the treasure's buried. If you look over there, you see part of Wagon Mound. So we're gonna keep trying. We'll be back. Well, guys, I think we about made it all the way to the top. You see Wagon Mound way over there. You can see Sean taking a break. And then you can see the valley below us. So we got a little bit more ways to go, and then we'll be at the top. And then hopefully there we can see where the triangle of trees is. And hopefully that's not too much further. So it's really pretty up here. Don't you think it's pretty, Sean?
Yeah.
Getting down will be a bitch. I ripped my pants. But we'll figure it out. Alright, guys, we're up on top of the plateau. You can see everything around us. Now, the canyon where the triangle sits, you can see it right there in front of us. Right there. And then the trees themselves are over there. You can barely see them sticking up the ones that make the triangle. So, looks like we got a wild hike. But let's go. Well, hey guys. We're out here in the middle of fucking nowhere. And look at this Indian, man. This might be an Indian burial ground that we just found. There's a mound there, and there's some other mounds there. That's our destination right there. You can see the Rocky Mountains off in the distance. I'm telling you, man, we're the High Plains drifters up here. So, it's pretty cool. There was 11 people killed out here, so maybe we'll run into some goats. We're only, what, a couple days, 4 or 5 days from Halloween. So let's keep going. Well, there it is, guys. We've almost made it to the triangle. These are the trees that are around the Santa Clara Spring. Back in the 1870s, 11 settlers were massacred here by Ute and Pueblo Indians. Their bodies were found strewn all across the area. So, according to our research, in the center of a triangle is treasure. So, and I ask anybody to go to Google Maps, Google this area, Santa Clara Spring outside of White Mountain, and tell me if that ain't no dang triangle. X marks the spot, or maybe triangle marks the spot. And maybe this is the blaze, because a triangle is a fire symbol, a fire sign. So, we'll see. We're almost to it. Alright guys, let's see what we find. Bye. Well, we made it, guys. There's the spring. See how these trees are planted in a circle around? Man, that water's so clear. See how it's a triangle? Looks like there's a foundation over there. So you can see the spring really good right here. See, this looks like a treasure place. We gotta try to figure a way to get in there. Well, we made it in, guys. It's like a foundation right here. Well, this is the spring. See how it's hidden all in a triangle? Where's the treasure? Oh yeah. Where's the treasure? Think it's under the water? like, and subscribe. Bye. Well, guys, we made it to what we thought was the blaze. If the treasure's here, you need a metal detector or something if it's buried, because as you can see in there, the grass is too high. I walked all around it, but I'm not finding anything. But this is a cool place. Strange. This is part of the Old West. If you ever want to look it up, Wagon Mound Massacre, check it out. It's really interesting. So we'll keep looking. Bye. Make sure to like and subscribe. For everyone who loves 2001: A Space Odyssey. And then you gotta do this. Follow it up. Everybody remember 2000 Space Odyssey with the monkey beats the thing? Look at this freaking thing. That's a cow leg bone. Too bad there wasn't a cool skull around here. There's jaw. Alright, well that was cool. 2001: A Space Odyssey. That's a great movie, one of my favorites. Well, made it to the salt flats. We were going to walk across it, but look at that. Might be quicksand out here. So we're not going to walk across it. We think that'd be smarter. Y'all think so? Bye.